Okay, Schrager's sitting here listening to us argue back and forth, and he just... Hey, you listen, I'm not saying they're going to do it, and I'm not saying I would do it. But shouldn't they at least take a call on Justin Fields? A call?
They should take calls on the number 1 overall pick. They should take calls on Justin Fields. Colin, they're open for business. When you're the worst team in football and you have the very worst record in the sport, nobody is off limits. I had a chance to speak with both Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus, the head coach of the Chicago Bears, at length at the Super Bowl. They were great. They didn't give their cards away or anything, but by no means were they like, we're locked and loaded with our roster, we're set. No, they were excited about the offseason. I think that involves a lot of different moving pieces. And I don't know, lines are open. Who wants them? Let's go. And then if not, you roll it back and say he was our guy all along.
You picked the Chiefs. Nick Wright did. You picked them before the season. I picked Buffalo. Nick and you at our company are, I think, the only guys that picked them all season long. Were you ever concerned about, because one of the things I had questions about was the defensive side. They had to get rid of that great corner who went to San Francisco. They had to get rid of Tyreek Hill. I thought they would score differently. So that's what happens when you pay your quarterback. You know, it's why the Cowboys don't have a second great receiver. You pay a star running back, you stay a quarterback, you have limitations. You didn't have a lot of doubts with it. Was there ever a moment this season that you thought it's not quite right?
No, I was in on the Chiefs back in September, and I think Nick is, a parade dweller now. I kind of keep myself a little objectively apart. Gosh, that was something. I love that for him. I thought it was really interesting that they actually made a decisive move and ripped the Band-Aid off and traded Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill made $30 million for the Dolphins this year, and to his credit, that he was an Offensive Player of the Year finalist. They paid their entire wide receivers room a total of $20 million.
Wow.
So many teams sit on their hands and don't make moves and don't do the Tyreek was as popular a guy as it was, but the fact that they made that move, and I could tell you from conversations with Brett Veach, the GM, and with Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback, they had open conversations with Mahomes. Mahomes was a part of that deal. He knew he hated the fact that they traded Tyreek Hill. He also knew that they had to do something before the free agency window really, really closed and make a move with Tyreek because it just wasn't going to work financially. So they bring in Juju, they trade for Tony, they bring in Valdez-Scantling. And that to me was the most decisive move of the offseason. No one wanted to trade Tyreek Hill, but Tyreek Hill wanted to be paid $30 million. He got that. For them to find 6 different guys who had to chip in to give what you got from Tyreek, I thought that was an incredibly decisive move. And Brett Veach then had to nail the draft, and they had 10 different rookies who played prominent roles on this team. 10 rookies.
That's incredible. So, listen, Philadelphia is going to be good. Lane Johnson, I was told by his agent 2 days ago, he's coming back. He's getting surgery. Kelsey's on. Nobody's quite know. Even Jason said, let me just chill out for a month. They have a lot of really good players. They're leading tacklers at linebacker free agents. Schrags, Kansas City's got ascending young players. Philly's got great old players. You tell me, do you look at Philly and think they're not going to quite be as stacked next year? Do you think they'll be able to work because they've got to pay Jalen Hurts, and I would imagine they will. What will they look like next year?
13 free agents.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And like Kelsey and Brandon Graham are the team leaders. We don't know if they're coming back. We don't know if they're going to retire. And then I look at the coaching staff. There's something that we call the brain drain in NFL circles. And that's when the players are okay, but you take the brains of the team out. And a lot of times when a team has success, the coordinators get plucked.
Yeah.
Both coordinators.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni's the head coach, obviously. But Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, the defensive and offensive coordinators, just signed on to be head coaches. And I'll tell you what happens. You lose those guys as coordinators, but they're going to take some of those low-level assistants with them where they go, and they're going to promote them to elevated roles. So suddenly it's not just the players. It's not just the Juju. It's not just everything that you had momentum-wise. You got to pay Hurts. You got to pay some of these free agents, and then you lose a lot of the brain power and some of the chemistry that was there. I look at 2 names on the coaching staff that they absolutely cannot lose, and that's Brian Johnson, who is a 35-year-old up-and-coming coach. He was the quarterback's coach. He actually played for Jalen Hurts' father when he was in high school. So there's a connection there. They can't let him leave. He's 35 years old. He was the quarterback's coach. I would imagine he's getting considered for the OC job. And then Denard Wilson's a 40-year-old defensive coach, did the defensive backs for them this year. He is a hot name to be a defensive coordinator everywhere. They need to make sure that they give him the DC job, because if you start losing all these coaches, that's where you start losing a lot of the chemistry. The players come and go. That's what happens. You keep your key players and you try to fill in with the draft. But you start losing all the coaching staff, that's when the team looks very different next year on the field.
By the way, before we get into your Paul Rudd thing, which is funny, there is it's really interesting that you can go once Brady retires. It's like, okay, that guy's off the board. Derek Carr looks like he could be grooved to Carolina, right? You start looking at teams like the Jets and the Raiders, and you're like, fellas, those are good divisions. You got to get your act together. Can you give me a lean on the Jets and Raiders? You can't go in a division with Russell and Sean Payton, Herbert, and Mahomes and Jarrett Stidham. Like, where are the Raiders? What are they doing, Schrags?
I'll tell you, the Jets have been very aggressive over the last several weeks, just inquiring, seeing what's out there. I'm not going to name exactly who they've called, but let's just say they're not only exploring who's going to be free agents, they're also calling some teams that have current quarterbacks in-house, and they're asking around saying, are you willing? Are you interested? Are we talking? So I would think the Jets are going to be very aggressive in the Rodgers front if just to inquire whether that's available. I would think Derek Carr makes a ton of sense there as well. And then you start going into these free agents. The Jets are going to be looking for a veteran quarterback. The Raiders, Rodgers couldn't have made it more obvious that he's at least being courted by Devontae Adams as a guy that might be coming there. But the Raiders are going to be aggressive too. I don't think either one of those teams are going young quarterback with their rosters, because the Jets, they need that veteran presence. They get just a little bit more out of the quarterback spot. They win more than 7 games last year, and that's a playoff team. The Raiders, they've got a veteran roster. Up and down that roster is veteran players. They're not looking for a young guy to learn on the fly with Josh McDaniels. So the obvious names are Rodgers for a trade and then Garoppolo as a free agent. But I think both those teams, you're going to have veteran quarterbacks under center at some point next season.
Okay, let's go to Schrager's. Let's show the Paul Rudd thing. This is Schrager, of his many accomplishments. This is a topper. We can't believe he's a real person as well. They are diehard. I don't know what it is about Kansas City, Rob Riggle. There's something about Kansas City peeps. They love their teams, right? I bet they probably feel ignored for most of their life, and now they want to be loved, and good for you, Schrags.
They're the Kansas City Mafia. I do an event every summer for them. I think I'm the celebrity. They ask me to participate. It's called the Big Slick, and it's for Children's Mercy Hospital in Kansas City. And it's a big softball tournament, and it's not just Rudd and Riggle. Like, we're talking Jason Sudeikis and talking Heidi Gardner to Saturday Night Live. And then of course you've got David Koechner and Eric Stonestreet. That interview, Rudd did not want to do that interview.
Yeah.
Let me explain. I was with him earlier in the day, and I know him here. He lives in Brooklyn. I see him around, and he's a Chiefs fan. We've known each other for years, whatever, not best friends, but I see him. Hey, Paul Rudd. Hey, Peter Schrager. It's great. He had been doing so much Ant-Man media that he's like, I'm off. I'm not doing any more promotion. I'm not promoting Quantum Media. I'm off. However, the last time Fox did a Super Bowl, I interviewed him and his son Jack on the field in Miami. So when we made eyes, like, I wasn't letting him off the hook. And credit to my producer, Dave Strumpf, who's out there with me, and then Bill Richards, who runs the studio show. I'm like, we can get you the third linebacker or the defensive tackle who had the big tackle in third down, or we can get you Paul Rudd. They're like, go get Paul Rudd. And I'm like, all right. And that's gone viral because his son looks and sounds exactly like Paul. He's 17 years old. He's a high school senior. And I hope Paul's not angry at me, because the last thing he wanted to do was more media after doing Jimmy Fallon and Seth Meyers all week long.
I like when celebrities genuinely like sports. Some of them fake it.
Well, that's real.
Politicians.
His son's wearing a L'Jarius Sneed jersey. That's real.
When you wear that's right. The cornerback jersey. That's a fan. Schrags, great seeing you as always, buddy. Appreciate it.
You're the best, guys. Love listening to the show.
Yeah, politicians always fake you. They want you to believe they really care about the teams. They don't really care about the teams. But there are a lot of actors. A lot more than you would think. I've gone to a couple UFC events. It's amazing how people, boxing, UFC, NBA's got a lot of celebrity fans.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.